Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. That was actually the first section of the film that I edited, was the Boko Haram section, just because it was such an aha moment for me. It really just encapsulated what the men's rights activists were saying, which is that there's this blind spot for male victims. And so what was happening with Boko Haram, and people can see the film to get a better version of the story than I'm about to tell. In Boko Haram, people may remember the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls campaign.
I posted it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest successful hashtags for that time. Like it really was this widespread, Hollywood was holding up those signs on the red carpet at, film premieres.
Michelle Obama, I remember,
Yeah.
was first lady at the time. And
Yeah. And so, all I knew about that was that I forget how many girls, I think it was around 200 girls were kidnapped by the terrorist group Boko Haram, and they were missing for months. And
in Nigeria, I think it was.
yes, yeah. And so, on first take, on first reading that is horrible. And yes, that is horrible. Who knows what atrocities those girls saw and were put through, and, absolutely devastating. And, I think in just the sense of raising awareness about that, good, that we talked about it and had a worldwide conversation about that. I'm glad that, that happened. It's just, widening the blinders a little bit. We then see that for years, there were boys, young boys, male students, that were being burned alive in the same villages and at their school by Boko Haram. And there was actually one small news story that never caught wind, where they reported that the terrorists came into the school. There was, I think, one schoolhouse for girls and something like 4 for boys. And they told all the girls to go home, get married, renounce your sins, and something else, religious thing that was said to them. And then they burned the boys alive. And there was, Karen Strawn talks about this in my film. She's a men's rights activist. But she said there was no outrage. Where was the hashtag Bring Back Our Boys? But we can't, they're dead. And this was happening time and time and time and time and time.
Yes, the headlines.
It wasn't just like one instance or 3 instances. It was for years going on that boys all the time were
and you
being
would see
burned
them
alive.
in groups of hundreds of boys or thousands of boys. And then you look at the Boko Haram girl hashtag, which we all agree is a great thing to fight for.
Right.
But it was what, like 200-300 or something like
Yeah.
that, a couple hundred, which is, that many too many.
Yes.
But then with the boys, I mean, it's in the thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
And if we put in war, and probably just worldwide, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands or millions.
And then it would be reported on by saying villagers or people rather than boys. Like deep within the article, you would then find that it was all, boys aged from 15 to 19 years old that were burned alive. And it was just really shocking to find all this, because Karen Strawn told me about this in an interview, and then I went back and did all the research and found these news clippings and pieced it all together, which, apparently definitely no filmmaker had done before, but, there wasn't even one major press source to show this happening, and, all kind of punched in together. And it was just mind blowing. And, what I took away from that was realizing that we don't have compassion for boys being burned alive, or, the press doesn't see it as being a, money-making kind of article to talk about, because the major news sources didn't report on this at all. So what took it from, just a local news source reporting about the boys being burned alive, and then a local news source reporting on the girls being kidnapped, that launched it into the worldwide press with the hashtag in Hollywood and, Michelle Obama and all this to talk about it. So what was that launch? There was some motivation to actually now talk about this worldwide.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but because you originally said that they let the girls go, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it when they found out that they weren't getting enough media attention from the boys, that's when they went back and kidnapped the girls? Is that what had happened?
Well, that's what Karen Strawn says. And, I think I couldn't find anything to
Okay, so that
support
might not
that
be
because,
true. Okay.
I don't think Boko Haram reveals all their motivations online. But, it worked. If that was their goal, it worked to get more media attention, doing something to the girls, not even killing them. Who knows what would have been different, if anything, if the girls were just burned alive alongside the boys. Would that have been a different story? I have no idea. But, and then Karen Strawn in the documentary, The Red Pill, she says, and I still, this kind of makes my stomach turn because this is just the language I can't get behind, but she says that Boko Haram, they're chivalrous. And I'm like, oh. But in the film, in my documentary, she says they're chivalrous. They didn't kill the girls. They told them to go home, renounce your sins, get married. They burned the boys alive. And then they kidnapped them many years later and got all this media attention. And so that was interesting because, chivalry is... You think of opening doors and paying for the bill,
not murdering
to spare your life because you're a girl.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the episode. If you're interested in contributing to the conversation and supporting the show, there's 2 easy things you can do. 1, click subscribe, and 2, visit our Patreon page where you get exclusive access